Well, it's Tuesday wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means we're going to be reviewing more of New Japan Pro Wrestling with day 11th of the G1 Climax. We'll be focusing on the A and B block. So we're going to see who most likely could be eliminated in some capacity. But we move on with ChocoPro to 324. However, there was a change in one of the matches, which I will get to at some later point. But we also got NWA Powerrr. As you know, we are now building up to get to NWA 75. Who knows how things are going to go? And after that, as you know, NXT are entering their fallout after, of course, the Great American Bash. Who knows what's going to happen? As you know, Mella retained her title. Tiffany Stratton retained her title. So did Dirty Dom. However, we do have NXT Tag Team Champions. But anything could happen till then. But first things first, we're going to review Stardom's continuation with day 3 of the 5-star Grand Prix. We're only going to focus 2 matches on that one. Well, there are other matches I'll be reviewing, but the focus on that, 2 matches involving the red and the blue star blocks. And then, of course, we cap it up with some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events are being put out, who's being booked, what matches are set, any signees, injuries, any other things, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rodier. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. So I hope you guys enjoy. So if you like this channel, please click subscribe. We'll be daily doing some reviews from various promotions and everything else. But if you like this episode, please click a like. Now, let's get started with our very first review. As you know, we are continuing with day 3 of the 5-star Grand Prix. But I did mention there were only 2 matches that were set. We have the red star block and the blue star. Only 1 match each. However, this particular day, we were supposed to have Saya Kamitani in her match, but however, that didn't happen. Apparently, because of her injury, it never did. But that doesn't change anything. However, let's move on to the opening match. We have Oedo Tai, consistent of Ruka and Natsuko Tora, taking on Queen's Quest, Mayu Amasaki, and Hina. Now, much like always with Oedo Tai, they immediately attack their opponents as always. Now, as always, they like to cheat, cut corners, but in this case, it was Ruka with the freezer bomb onto, I think it was Amasaki, on Hina to pick up the win. So Oedo Tai walked away, yes. But however, as soon as this match was over, Natsuko Tora made a beeline to one particular person who she tried to destroy, and that is none other than Queen's Quest leader Utami Ashishita. As you know, she will not forget that that the humiliation she suffered after losing that cage match. So you know for a fact that Natsuko Tora is not done with her until she destroys her completely. Now, our next match, we have DDM, more consistent of Tekla and Julia, taking on Yuna Mizumori and our current Red Belt champion, Tam Nakano. Now, there were some good moments in this match. Now, keep in mind, Yuna Mizumori, who had failed to pass the weight requirements, she has continued to grow a little by little. Looks more like maybe Tam is going to give her a second chance or so to see how progress. But however, Yuna Mizumori did her best when it came to Julia when she applied the Glorious Driver. So that's pretty much how it happened. So moving on. Next up, we have Stars, consistent of Momo Kogo and Azuki, taking on Club Venus's Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May. Now, keep in mind, there's still some animosity with Momo Kogo towards Mariah May, who Mariah May has considered her a loser, thinking that's what she is. But however, Momo is determined to grow no matter what Mariah May thinks of her. But unfortunately, she ended up in Planet DDT by Mina Shirakawa to pick up the win. Next up, we got the other members of Queen's Quest. We have Lady C, Azumi, and Utami Ashida taking on Stars, consisted of Saya Ida, Koguma, and Mayu Amasaki. Now, this is more of a preview before we get to the next pay-per-view. Now, keep in mind, Utami Ashida has one goal in mind. That goal is to dethrone Mayu Iwatani of the IWGP Women's title. Now, Mayu Iwatani has been very frustrated that she hasn't been the same ever since she lost the red belt. She's been having trouble to get back on top. But, however, during times, Utami has always reminded Mayu, remember who was the one who beat you for the red belt. And that's always been the case. But, however, in this particular match, it was Koguma who picked up the win when she applied the diving body press onto Lady C to pick up the win. However, Utami Ashida is confident enough to believe that she is going to dethrone once and for all Amatai and become the new IWGP Women's Champion. But however, Mayu doesn't believe that. She believes she's going to be the IWGP Women's Champion for the next 2 or 3 years. But no one can live champion that forever. But we'll see how that goes until we get to that. Now, our next match, we have Mega Bane, or as people call her, Megazus, declared by Zu Suzuki. She teams up once again with Mei Sita, and it's the first time she teams up with Maika. They take on Hanako and the members of God's Eye, Saki Kashima and Sudi. Now, the best moment was Saki Kashima got in the face of Mega Bane, but Hanako and Sudi just walked out, let her defend for herself. But however, there was still no match for her anyway. I'm sure Tam Nakano is keeping a close eye on Mega Bane, knowing that she has to face her when that day comes. Now, many fans believe that Tam will overcome it, knowing that she has a very strong competitor. It wouldn't be the first time for Tam to deal with it, but as always, Mega Bane applied the F5 onto Hanako to pick up the win. I'm sure Tam is paying close attention on that particular match. Now, our next match is, of course, the Blue Star block of the 5-Star Grand Prix. We have Hanan versus Mirai. Now, keep in mind, both these ladies are the only ones in the tournament that haven't picked up the win yet. Now, Hanan last year, if you guys remember, she hasn't picked up the win. It's been frustrating for her that she hasn't picked up the win, even last year as well. But Mirai, as you know, has lost two consecutive matches. The first one was with Momo Watanabe, and the recent one was with Mina Shirakawa. But on a note here, if you guys pay too close attention during this match, Mina and Mariah May were right there watching from a distance in the upper stands of whatever venue they were at, watching. Now keep in mind, Mina has her desire to reclaim the white belt that was taken from her by Tam Nakano. But I'm sure, we will get to that at some point. But Mirai was able to pick up a very big win when she applied a lariat onto Hana to pick up a win. So this will give her first win in the 5-Star Grand. I mean, it must have been a real tough thing for her to lose in this sense. However, Hana's the only one who hasn't picked up the win. So right now, Mirai only has 2 points with 1 win and 2 losses. So that goes as to show. Now, our main event features of the 5-Star Grand Prix, the Red Star block. We have Zu Suzuki and Natsupoi. Now, if you guys saw last year's 5-Star Grand Prix, Natsupoi and Suzuki were in the same block together, in the blue block. However, it was Natsupoi who picked up the win after being brutalized by Zuzu in every aspect. And I'm sure Zuzu hasn't forgotten. But I have to say this was a really good performance by Natsupoi, knowing that she has to get stronger. Now, she hasn't been strong. We know many people are waiting for her next singles run to see. However, she did apply the fairy string, which is the German suplex type, onto Zuzu to pick up the win. But of course, Natsupoi, as you know, she is gaining stronger and all that. So we'll see what happens until we get there. We do know by the end of this tournament, her last opponent will be none other than her best friend and Meltier tag partner, Tam Nakano. So we'll see how that turns out. So I think that's pretty much it with Stardom. I believe it's time for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, as we continue with more of New Japan Pro Wrestling in the G1, now keep in mind, certain moments in these particular matches, the commentators reveal that certain wrestlers can still be barely alive, others will be out. So we'll find out who's doing that along the way. Now, let's begin with the A block. We have Kaito Kiyomiya taking on Hikuleo. Now, I'm sure many fans probably figured that Kaito Kiyomiya, if you're most specifically a Noah fan, Kiyomiya will be the one to pick up the win. However, that wasn't the case. I mean, look, Hikuleo is 7 feet tall. He's a big dude. However, Kiyomiya, he has the heart of a champion, but he has to face a guy who's much bigger. But in this case, it was in fact Hikuleo with a choke slam to put away Kiyomiya to pick up the win. So they currently have 6 points each, with 3 wins, I think, and 3 losses, I believe. So yes, so they're still very much alive in this. But the obvious thing is, how long can they last? Now the B block, we have the Great Okan versus Yoshihashi. Now these two guys are familiarized with each other. They have challenged each other for the tag titles. But however, in this case, it was Great Okan with the Eliminator onto Yoshihashi to pick up the win. Now, he may have pinned Yoshihashi. There is the possibility that maybe he could cash in an opportunity of the tag titles. But that hasn't set yet, because right now they're both at each 4 points each, with just 2 wins and 4 losses. Now, jump back to the A block. We have Chase Owens versus Ren Narita. Now, of course, Ren Narita has to go through a guy who's been more aggressive, who has been more known to do things, Chase Owens. But I have to say, I did like how the end of this match was pretty interesting. Ren Narita put, of course, Chase Owens in the Cobra Twist, but however, seeing how Chase Owens was in fact getting closer and closer to ropes, asking for the B-break, it did not happen. Ren Narita applied a chokehold to disorient Chase Owens even further, but also drag him back into the middle of the ring so he can apply the Cobra Twist firmly, and then he applied it once again, and of course Chase Owens has no other choice but to tap. So right now, in this case, they both ended up just like in the previous match, 4 points each, with 2 wins and 4 losses. So the obvious thing is, they're barely hanging in there by a thread. But we'll see how this one goes. Now, this next match, I have to say, this one was much interesting to me. We have El Phantasmo versus Taichi. Now, this is part of the B block. Now, El Phantasmo said some interesting, funny remarks towards Taichi. However, El Phantasmo in this particular match, he didn't play his usual tricks on Taichi, but it was a straight up good match. Now, after the bell ring, El Phantasmo pulled out his hand and shaked his hand. It was like really weird. But El Phantasmo, throughout the entirety of this match, did not use any tricks on Taichi. And that was surprising. But however, El Phantasmo was able to apply Taichi's move, the Ghetto Clutch, or as Kevin Kelly calls it, the ELP Clutch, on him to pick up a win. Taichi, of course, was disappointed that he lost, but I think he was much surprised that he said in the post-match comments, that he was surprised that he didn't pull off the next trick. But he said he would like to have another opportunity with him. Maybe he wants to see if he really has turned a new leaf since he was kicked out of the Bullet Club. I mean, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Taichi invites him to join just 5 guys and they become just 6 guys. I mean, that would be weird. But of course, Taka would say, just buy the merch and we'll get the new one. That's what he told Kevin Kelly. Now, our next match. This is back to the A block. We have Gabe Kidd, member of the BC War Dogs. His opportunity has rose when he has to face our current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Sanada. Now, we all know that this is an opportunity for him. If he pins Sanada, that puts him in a title contingency to have a shot of the IWGP World Heavyweight title. But of course, Sanada, I'm sure he knows that a guy like Gabriel Kidd is no slouch, but there was a moment where Gabe Kidd used the referee as a ref, but he used close fists into his face. While Sanada got knocked down, he lifted up his left foot and got Gabe Kidd right in the cojones. And he had no idea that happened. But however, Sanada was able to apply the Shining Wizard, then finally deadfall to pick up the win. But Gabe Kidd, he is so fixated, he said that one day that title will belong to him. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Finlay will accept that, because he is the leader of the Bullet Club. But in this case, Sanada is currently up ahead in the block with 12 points. As for Gabe Kidd, he only has 5. So he has 1 draw, 2 wins, and I think 2 losses, I think? Yes, I think so. So that's probably how it is. Now back to B block, we have Tonga Loa versus Will Ospreay. Now, this match, I have to say, was the biggest upset of them all. Now, we can say how good Will Ospreay is, but Tonga Loa played the smart game in this game. Now, when it comes to wrestling, there's always some wrestlers who are good in offense, some wrestlers are good in defense. Ospreay is more of an offense wrestler, while Tonga Loa is a bit of a defense wrestler. But one thing that was smart of Tonga Loa in this particular match is that he took Will Ospreay outside the ring, threw him to hell to try to disorient him much as possible. But however, the countdown has begun by the ref. But the last possible seconds, it was Tonga Loa who speared Will Ospreay. He only had 19 seconds in a countdown, managed to get back into the ring, and then once the ref reached 20, Tonga Loa won. Now, Will Ospreay did mention in the post-match comments that he commended in a smart tactic by Tonga Loa. He said that he has always considered himself, Will Ospreay admits, yes, I'm an offensive wrestler. So he understands that this is not much of a bigger deal for him because he already has 2 losses. The first one was against Taichi and now Tonga Loa. This does not affect him in some capacity or loss, but I think he's starting to see, okay, I wasn't smart enough in this game, but I commemorate Tonga Loa from playing a smarter game. But however, right now he's not focused on that anymore because he, and of course, has acknowledged that he has to face one particular person, someone that he brought to join New Japan, but he ended up with the Bullet Club. And recently we all know where he is now. He's talking about El Phantasmo. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Will Ospreay will try to convince El Phantasmo to join. Even El Phantasmo says that he hasn't beaten Will Ospreay yet, but I'm sure he's determined to do so. But we'll see how that plays out. Now, for the point system on these two, Tonga Loa has 6 points with 3 wins and 3 losses. Will Ospreay only has 8 points with 4 wins and 2 losses. So right now, they're both in a good, steady place at the moment. Now, like I said before, this does not affect Will Ospreay in any way possible. But we'll see how that turns out down the line. Now, back to the A block. We have Yota Tsuji versus Shota Umino. Now, these two have been declared by the New Japan officials as the new generation of the Three Musketeers, even though they hate each other. Now, according to Kevin Kelly in their history, Shota Umino only has one win over Yota Tsuji in Japan. However, he has 2 wins against him, against Yota Tsuji, and 1 loss from Tsuji as well in the UK. So basically, Shota Umino is far more better wrestler than him. But Yota Tsuji, as you know, he is growing and growing consistently. But this match could have ended, in my opinion, in the time limit draw again. But however, it was the spear, or known as the Gene Blast, that gave Yota Tsuji another second win. So he currently has 2 wins, 2 losses, but 2 draws. So that's the total of 6 points. So they're both in a good position. But nonetheless, that's how it goes out. Now, our main event, we have Kenta versus Kazuchika Okada. Now, I'm sure Kenta would love nothing more to pin a guy like Okada, who is like the kind of guy who would put himself on the map if he challenges Sonata for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. But Okada knows the usual tricks. Even Kenta was trying to play the aggressor in every aspect, but in the end, it was the Rainmaker that put away Kenta. But however, it was now told that Kenta is eliminated out of the tournament. Now, he will continue on, but he cannot proceed any further into the finals. So that's a huge disappointment for him, but that's how it rolls. And I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. I believe now it's time to move on with ChocoPro. Okay, ChocoPro 322. As always, Emi Sakura opened the show, but she wasn't alone. She had none other than our resident English speaker, Balinaki. Now, they informed us in this particular, as you know, they normally like to inform what the matches are going to be, who's involved. However, there was a slight change in the second match, which was a tag team. Balinaki was supposed to team up with his bro, Mei Shiruga, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, Mei Shiruga ended up being ill. She wasn't able to compete. However, they announced her replacement was none other than Ken Oka, or shall we say, Mei Oka. But yes, that's who Balinaki will be teaming with. But yes, so we'll get to that. So let's right now get started with the first match. Our first match is a singles match. We have Sawadi Kamen taking on Mochi Natsumi. Now, I have to say this was a very interesting matchup because Sawadi is a bit of an aggressive wrestler, but he forgets he's facing a woman who is a member of one of the most dangerous units in the freelancing world. We're talking about Prominence. So that's the whole thing. Now, I'm sure Sawadi would do everything in his power to ensure this match goes in his favor, but unfortunately, he, as you all know, Mochi Natsumi was trained by Emi Sakura. She applied the Magistral onto him to pick up the win. So that's a good win for her, right there. Now, our next match, we have Sayaka Obihiro teaming up with Miya Yatsubi. They take on Mei Oka and Balinaki. Now, yes, okay, if you guys don't know why I'm calling Mei Oka, well, here's the reason why. When Mei Shiruga went on excursion to Mexico to compete for the CML Grand Prix, there was a bit of a, not like a rivalry, but more like, you know, well, Mei Shiruga, in fact, had insulted him by singing the song from, the theme song from Ken Oka called Back Communications. There's a moment of the song goes, whoa, 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 Back Communications. So Mei Shiruga decided to play a little game with him. Says, you know, Whoa, 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 a big apple. So basically, she kind of struck a nerve onto Ken Oka, but Ken Oka decided to struck a nerve back by pretending that he's Mei Sugar. Even Chris Brooks, who hates Mei Sugar, likes this one better. So that's the reason. So basically, it's like you have the real Mei Sugar and a guy who likes to pretend he's Mei Sugar. But nonetheless, it did help. Now keep in mind, I wouldn't be surprised because here's how it goes. Mei Suga and Miyatsubi, they're kind of a bit of a rivalry because it's master versus teacher, but that doesn't change anything. But in this case, it was, of course, a great teamwork between Balinaki and Ken Oka to pick up the good win. It was Balinaki who pinned Obihiro, and that was pretty much it. So I'm sure there will be another opportunity when Mei Suga comes back. I'm sure Miyatsuba and Sayaka will Obihiro will take another opportunity of them. Now, in this match is a case of girls versus boys, men versus women. Our first team, we have Chiko Shikawa and her BFF, Sayaka, teaming up with their mentor and the leader of Got to Move and ChocoPro, and Misakura. They take on the boys, consistent of Antonio Honda, Masahiro Takanashi, and our newly crowned DDT KOD Openweight Champion, Chris Brooks. However, Chris Brooks, who's a bit of a cocky SOB, stole Emi Sakura's crown and robe. I can't believe he did that, insulting Emi Sakura in some capacity. Now, I have to say, this is more a really good, interesting intergender tag match for me, as seeing this. But it was so good, not to mention Antonio Honda with his usual tricks, playing games and all that. But it was, of course, Chris Brooks who applied a submission on Sayaka, and Sayaka had no other choice but the tap. So, yeah. However, during the jogging tournament, it was very interesting. Sayaka and she had to come up with each other. Same thing with Chris Brooks and Masa. But, however, our two champions from two respective promotions faced up, and unfortunately, Chris Brooks won. So he won the chocolate, and that's how it ends. However, it was announced that there will be more matches have been announced for the Four Aces at the next Got to Move show on the 16th of August. It's going to be Emi Sakura versus Mochi Natsumi. I think that's the one So basically another case of student versus teacher scenario. As I mentioned, Emi Sakura has trained many wrestlers. That includes, of course, our former AEW Women's Champions, Riho and Hikaru Shida. So now you know. So I think that's pretty much it with ChocoPro. I believe it's time for NWA Powerrr. Okay, NWA Powerrr. Now, recently there's been a power flux over the fact that EC3 has relinquished the NWA National Heavyweight Championship. Now, it appears there's been wrestlers who are now fighting to be the one to be the next champion. Now, these two wrestlers have mentioned they want to be involved in that. We have Chris Adonis, the Master Lock, Dak Draper, and of course, one half of Blunt Force Trauma Damage. Now, the obvious question, who was going to want it more? But I knew for a fact by watching this match that Aaron Stevens will try to ensure Damage wins, but the dumb idiot miscalculated by using a loaded glove on Dak Draper. But it did give, of course, Chris Adonis the opportunity to apply the Master Lock on him. Damage was nowhere to be found to try to stop it in order to ensure he wins the match. However, Chris Adonis picked up the win when referee called the match with stoppage, giving him the win. And I'm sure this was not part of Aaron Stevens' plan. But better luck next time. Now, our next match was a very interesting one. We have Gags the Gimp taking on Judas. Now, keep in mind, Gags and Sal the Power were expelled out of the lives of Father James Mitchell. But Gags the Gimp, I have to say, he was the heavy favorite in this match by many fans. However, Judas was trying to break him in half, try to make him pay. However, Jeremiah Plunkett, out of nowhere, for no apparent reason, shows up and tries to stop Judas. But Jeremiah Plunkett tried to get involved. It didn't do any good for him. But however, Sal the Pal, Gax's buddy, who was also a member with Father James Mitchell, threw in the towel and told the ref that the match is over. It's done. Sal the Pal refuses to let Judas to get to hurt Gags the Gimp any further, but however, Judas did it anyway. So that's how it rolls down from it. Now, in an interesting interview made by Mae Valentine, she has spoken with the Country Gentlemen. Now, keep in mind, the Country Gentlemen do have a loss against the brothers from Funstruction, Yabo and Rufo. Now, they do have a opportunity to challenge for the NWA United States Tag Team titles. But the obvious question is, will they cash it in? I'm sure they probably will cash it in on NWA 74. However, even though the Country Gentlemen are willing to acknowledge that this loss happened, but that does not excuse the fact that they have been fighting champions. And I'm inclined to agree with that, because no one has fought more battles than these guys. But the obvious question is, will Lightning strike twice, or will Country Gentlemen continue to thrive? That is something we will see. Now, our next match, we have Robert Anthony teaming up with Eric Johnson to take on Father and Joe Alonso along with Angelina Love. I have to say this match was pretty interesting. Now, Joe Alonso with a cocky attitude has shown it so much. However, it was Joe Alonso with the Death Valley driver onto Robert Anthony to pick up the win. So that ended just like that. Now, obvious questions have been made, and of course, Danny Deals with the DLZ decided to pay a little visit to Austin Idol. Now, keep in mind, ever since he betrayed his son Zion, the one with the C, it appears there's another Zion involved with the Z, like Z Verzoro. The other one has the C, as in Carlos. The obvious question that Daddy Deals wants to know, is this Zion his son? I mean, that's a good question. But who knows? But we'll find out. Now, as you know, the Brothers Fun Destruction have been very, very, very also been active. And I believe this team also suffered a loss by them too. La Rebellion and Vampiro. So basically, they will be dealt with. So sooner or later, this will have to happen between them. But who knows when. Now, our next match is for the NWA Women's World Television title. We have Angela Love getting a title opportunity against Kenzie Page. However, this particular match falls into the 6:05 rules. Basically, you have 6 minutes and 5 seconds to pick up a win, or else there's a time limit draw. However, Kenzie Page was smart enough to know this. However, she's been trying to make sure she steps out of the ring to try to waste time. And that was a smart play. I wouldn't be surprised if Angelina Love would love to get another shot at her, because we know that Kenzie Page feels that Camille is ignoring her, saying that she should be threatened by Kenzie Page's threat that she could challenge her for the NWA Women's World title. But we'll see when that happens. Now, in recent interview, we do see Pretty in Power. Apparently, Pretty in Power, as you know, they haven't been in a good state of mood ever since losing the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles to MF5, Misa Kate and Maddie. However, they're confident enough to believe that on 75 that they will win the titles and win the back. So that is something that they are confident enough. But we'll see when we get there. Now, however, during a interview in the front of the in ring by Kyle Davis, Kyle Lamax-Amara, I think his name, has some issues to address about, of course, Ricky Morton, his son Kerry. However, as you know, Kerry Moore, his dad, and Alex Taylor formed a brand new faction or a unit known as the Southern Six that have now been taking over NWA. Apparently, Thrillbilly Cyrus volunteered himself to kick Kyle's ass, and that's exactly what happened when he, in fact, pulled off the thrill ride. However, Southern Six are now making a statement saying that they are now the ones that run the NWA. So we'll see what happens to them, and I'm sure Billy Corgan is not going to tolerate this one way or the other. So I think that's pretty much with NWA. So let's move on with NXT. Okay, NXT. Now, NXT has entered their fallout after the Great American Bash. We have majority of the titles retained, but however, we only have one title exchange. And certain matches that took place, I felt like we needed to address. But it was a fantastic show. But what is the aftermath like now since the Great American Bash? Well, let's find out. Earlier, before the start of the show, the family, the Don, the Tony D, and Stacks were viciously attacked in a 3-on-2 assault by the Gallus, Wolfgang, Joe, and Mark Coffey. However, during an interview during the show, they weren't sure what's the process, so apparently Don decided to have a 3-on-3 match. But however, Stacks was specifically saying there's only 2 of them. So Tony D said that he knows somebody. The only problem was he accepted. So of course later on he did call whoever it was. That was going to be our main event. But that person did arrive. We had no clue who it was. But we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our opening match, we have Jay-Z Jane versus Larry Vacaria. Now, this rivalry dates back all the way to for a while now. Now, Jay-Z Jane, who's been threatened by the sudden appearance of Lyra Vacaria, who often consider himself believing that she is the face of the women's division NXT. However, it looks more like many of the peers in the locker room are saying that Valkyria is a badass. Even the current women's world champion, Rhea Ripley, even commented on her. It drives Jay-Z Jane crazy. However, because of that match that Lyra Vacaria happened with Rhea Ripley, she was ready to take her on because, as you know, Valkyria only has one goal in mind, and that goal is to obtain the NXT women's title. But Jay-Z Jane feels that title belongs to her, no one else's. But this match was a brutal type match. Now, you probably would have assumed that Jay-Z Jane would have tried something, but however, Valkyria actually knocked the lights out of her with her spinning heel kick, and then the big splash, 1, 2, 3. Now, during either the Instagram or Twitter page, Big Body Javi was doing a little promo in the back until apparently he was interrupted by Jay-Z Jane, who feels that things did not go exactly her way. It's because she feels that she is the face of the NXT women's division. So we'll see about that. Now, as you know, Carmelo Hayes survived the onslaught of Ilya Dragunov during the Great American Bash. However, it appears that Trick Williams has some unfinished business. Now, Melo has always been tight with Trick, treat him like his equal. But however, Trick feels that certain people treat him that he is nothing but Melo's sidekick. So Melo feels like you're not a sidekick, but even though he knows it, but Trick wants to prove he can be his own man. So he's saying, this is not a breakup. I just need to step away to be my own man for a while. So Melo says that he supports him no matter what, that he always will have his back. So Melo understands where he's going. He's saying, you're the champion. I'm not. So Trick knows he has to step away from Melo's side for the time being until he slays the dragon, and that dragon is none other than Dragunov. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, Rhea Ripley and Dominic decided to go out to do a little promo until they were interrupted by Dragon Lee. Now, Dragon Lee, as you know, he is the guy who many people have often talked about. They insulted him and all this other stuff. But however, this match between Dom and Dragon is going to take place next week on NXT. However, because Rhea Ripley is going to be there, Dragon Lee said that he's not alone. He's bringing someone else. And that person is none other than Dom's father, Rey Mysterio. This was something that I don't think Dominic saw it coming. But it's the great reaction. He knows that his dad will irritate him, that he's irritated that his dad's going to be there. So we'll see about that. Now, as you know what happened at the Great American Bash, Lee has been in a bad position ever since losing the North American title to Dominic. However, Carmelo Hayes has been trying to tell him, look, I understand that it was not easy, but he's telling him being mean champion is not easy. But that so-called fake NXT Heritage Cup champion, Noam Dar, saying that he is the real champion. But everybody knows that Frazier's the one who won. But that's how it goes. So we'll see about that. But later they put themselves in a match, both Mello and Lee, against Noam and Amenza. Now our next match, this happened ever since the end of the NXT Underground. Apparently Dijak decided to brand his own justice against Eddie Thorpe, but this was a much brutal punishment that Dijak has been brutalizing Eddie Thorpe. However, he was able to take him out with his finisher and then pin him 1, 2, 3. But the obvious thing is this over between Dijak and Eddie Thorpe, or Eddie Thorpe will get his retribution? That's something we will see when that day comes. Now, it was a huge disappointing moment how things have turned out for Thea Hale. We all were expecting her the possibility that she could have been the one to dethrone Tiffany Strand. But however, of course, Baron Corbin, who has issues towards the NXT roster, who feels like their wrestlers are not cut out, who complain and bitch about it. Now he goes out to say that Thea Hale doesn't belong there. But Andre Chase and Duke will not tolerate Baron Corbin's behavior, who they support Thea Hale no matter what. So later they set up in a match against them later on. Now, as you know what happened last week on NXT, Dana Brooke was successfully able to defeat none other than the mean girl, the so-called savior of NXT, Cora Jade. However, Dana Brooke decided that it was time to change the direction. She felt that what she did to Cora Jade felt good. And she's saying that to Kelani Jordan, who's been like a student of her or a teammate, that Kelani Jordan has to do the same thing. Even though they're both gymnasts, they felt that it's time for them to find that killer instinct that could put them back on the top, could put their name into the NXT. So we'll see how that goes. I think many people will love to see that. Now our next match, this is more of an implication about who could be the ones to challenge for the NXT women's titles that are currently in the main roster. We have Yulisa Lowen and Valentina Feroz, who actually had a good successful match at the kickoff show at the Great American Bash, taking on the very interesting duo of Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez. Now, as you know, Lopez and Feroz do have a bit of a history, but the obvious question is, who is the most dominant team that could potentially? We know that Leon and Feroz have been gunning for the tag titles before, but unfortunately this one ended with Lola Vice applying like a spinning heel kick onto Feroz to pick up the win. So most likely we could see them could challenge against, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So we'll see where they're going to go with that. Now, during a TikTok video made by our current NXT Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, who normally likes to gossip about how she was successfully able to retain the title, was able to admit that she felt that Thea Hale has pushed her to the limit. Now, normally women who have faced people like Tiffany Stratton don't normally talk like that. However, Tiffany was willing to admit that this was not an easy challenge for her, knowing that their hell was a lot different than the last time. So what does this mean? Does Tiffany Stratton realize that maybe there could be potential wrestlers that could dethrone her if they push her to her limits? But the real question is she willing to admit that whoever's the next challenger could push her to the limit? Well, we'll see about that. Now we have Braun Breaker, as you know, recently has insulted Von Wagner about his past. If you guys remember, he talked about his past, about the hospital procedure that he's been through and all this other stuff. Well, this time Braun Breaker has called out Von Wagner, and it's not going to be pretty. Trust me. Now, our next match, we have Wesley and Carmelo Hayes teaming up to take on Oro Mensah and, of course, what's his name? Noam Dar. Anyway, Wesley is the one who's been mostly off the game, knowing that he's still affected about the way he lost the North American title. And I think that's been going on for a while now. But however, because of that, there was a miscommunication when he applied the cardio kick, accidentally got Hayes, but it did give, of course, the supernova kick by Dar to pick up the win. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Lee challenges for the title, but we'll see how that turns out. Now, our next match is Baron Corbin versus Andre Chase. I mean, you can tell the motions with their Hale, who hasn't forgotten, but I'm going to skip ahead on this one. Basically, she tried to throw in the towel to stop, to end the whole match between Corbin and Chase. But however, Baron Corbin caught the towel and did not let that happen. So apparently that's how it is. But Duke was completely, he couldn't believe that happened. But unfortunately, Baron Corbin applied the end of days. So, but however, he did say that he may not be done with Gable Stevens. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, as you know, Metaphor are celebrating the fact that Mensah and Dar were able to defeat Lee and Mello. However, Tyler Bate put himself in a position that he's going to challenge Dar for the NXT Heritage Cup title. Well, the fake one, actually. But apparently he played mind games with everybody, so it kind of worked. Now, our next segment, as you know, recently there's been a lot of talk about the situation going on with Schism. Now, if you guys remember, not too long ago, Schism got involved in a match with two of their followers, started a big mess. However, the Dyad, Fowler and Reed, were the ones who believed that the Creed brothers were behind it. However, Ava Reigns is saying they're not involved. However, there seems like there's been they called out the followers, and Ikemenjiro decided to show up, have a little fun. So it wasn't them. They thought these two guys they were involved were in fact the Creed brothers. But however, the Creed brothers showed up, do a little video saying we had nothing to do with what happened. So they're saying that we were on vacation. So thank you for giving us a nice vacation. But apparently now they're starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, the Creed brothers had something to do with it. Looks more like this little thing has finally worked its charm. So that kind of sets it. So Joe Gacy called out every member of the Schism inside the tree to find them and bring them. So the obvious question is, will that happen? We'll see. Now, Cora Jade, as you know, not a happy camper. She feels like things are not going her way, so she decided to pack up and leave. But, of course, no one in the locker room cared. So it's like, bye. Now, our main event is the Gallows Boys. Wolfgang, Mark, and Joe Coffey taking on Stax and Tony D'Angelo. But the obvious question is, who was the third partner? Well, it turned out to be an old associate of the family. We're talking about the number one contender for the the United States title, Santos Escobar. I thought that was a sweet. Everybody's reaction was like, damn, no one expected it. No one did. But it's fantastic to hear that. However, I think this match was pretty good. I think Gallus did not expect this to happen. It looks like everything that they thought that they were going to be at the top was going to fall down. But it was Of course, the bada bing, bada boom, bada bing that put away Wolfgang of Mark Coffey, and of course, the family won the match. So now, right at the end of the show, of course, we saw Dragunov, who seems like he is not done with Trick Williams. So this is gonna be interesting throwing. So I have to say, the Aftermath had some great, interesting storylines and good matches that are good to tell. So we'll see what happens next week. I think that's pretty much it for all the reviews. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, news update. So, let's get started. For our GCW updates, we have for the My Name Is event that takes place on the 4th of August in Detroit. It was announced that Masha Stamovich will be in a match against Tommy Vendetta. That's going to be a very interesting match. Now, for our Tijuana event that will take place on the 13th of August, the Lucha de Explosivos, we have Joey Janela taking on Psychosis, and I think this is Nicho and Millonario's version, so we'll see how that turns out. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. They announced a brand new show that will start up on it's been announced for September 10th at Brooklyn, New York, at the Roulette Intermedium. So they haven't announced who will participate, but I'm going to presume they'll be doing that real soon. Now, updates for their Germany event that will be taking place later on September 22nd and 23rd. Second Gear Crew has announced that they will be participating in these two shows. The only ones that mentioned was Manders and the Southern Psycho Mans Warner. Now, a brand new entrant has been announced for the All-Star Junior Festival USA in Philadelphia on the 19th of August. We have Kevin Knight has been announced to be part of it. However, because of this announcement, it was announced that the All-Star Junior USA tournament will take place, and they announced the first match for that. Kevin Knight will take on his former teammate, who is now a member of the Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, as you know, Stardom has puts out the New Blood shows that takes place. Apparently, it was announced by Stardom that New Blood 10 will not be available on YouTube, so that's going to be interesting. So if you guys have Stardom World, then you would see it, or if you know places where you can watch it, then yeah. So there's that. Now, interesting developments have been announced. Deonna Purrazzo has laid out a challenge from anybody of the Stardom roster to come down to the Multiverse United on August 20th in Philadelphia, which coincidentally is the same location where the All-Star Junior Festival will take place. However, reports have come in now that the most likely opponent that Deonna Purrazzo will face is coincidentally the person who's going to be there, Julia, our current New Japan Strong Openweight New Strong Women's Champion. Now, Scott Edwards from Fightful Select has even made that that's the possibility. Anything else? But however, on a note to this, if you guys have noticed that Mai Sakurai hasn't been booked at any Stardom shows, most likely she will appear at the All-Star Junior Festival as a tag partner for Julia. However, no opponent has been announced for that. But for Julia to appear at Multiverse United, that would be great. I'm sure that many people probably would like to see Stardom talent make their way to, of course, to Impact Wrestling. So that is something that it is a possibility. So we'll see when that happens. This was announced recently. RevPro is announced for the 11th anniversary on the 26th of this month of August. El Phantasmo is going to be there, so that's going to be a lot of fun. DAGA has announced that he's opening a brand new wrestling school down in Laredo, Texas. This is something news to me, but hearing that he's going to do this is really great. If you guys are from the Texas area or near the location where Laredo is, according to him, that the school sessions will begin in September. So I don't know much about the information, but if you want to look into it, then look into it. I forgot what the name of it, but yes. Now, Sendai Girls has announced for their upcoming event on September on the 2nd. Natsupoi will be there. Now, coincidentally, this was also the same event that was announced that our favorite pirate princess will be, in fact, involved. Now, our final update here. This one was a very interesting by Scott Edwards from Fightful Select. He said that he has been in recent contact with Mina Shirakawa. Apparently, Mina said that there's a potential talks that most likely she could win the 5-star Grand Prix in order to get payback against Tam Nakano and gain the red belt. Now, I highly doubt that because I feel that there's many others that potential. I mean, right now the one person who comes to my mind is Micah. I mean, Micah is like one of those potential wrestlers I think could win the 5-star. But yeah, I think that's one of the talks for me. I don't know what others would say. Others saying Azuki should be the one to win it. That's another conversation right there. But we'll see how that goes. I think that's pretty much it for now. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have another Unagi Sayaka watch. We'll be talking about certain of her matches recently with the Fire Festival. She was involved. Many others, upcoming matches, and all that other stuff. But for our next episode, we will only feature more of the G1. I believe we're focusing on C and D block. And of course, we have AEW Dynamite 200. That's going to be a good show to enjoy. If there's anything else, then we'll be putting that on the news updates on that particular episode. But if there's any news update alerts, I will put that as soon as possible. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. But until then, I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.